great edible flower to get to know. This is Wisteria, a leguminous vine that's a beautiful ornamental, or it could be invasive depending on which type you have. We have indigenous ones and invasive ones in North America. We're going to go over safety, harvesting, and cooking. So the most important thing to know is that all parts of Wisteria, except the flowers, are toxic/poisonous. If you have an individual sensitivity to them, they might make you fart. Differences between species. Okay, so this is the indigenous variety. This is in St. Paul, and they're going to have kind of a smooth pod. Remember, this is a bean. It's a leguminous vine. And then the Chinese ones are going to have a kind of fuzzy pod. The most notable thing to me is that the indigenous variety, pictured here, is going to have flowers when the leaves are mature in the summer. And then the invasive ones will have flowers in the spring when the plants are young and the leaves are not mature. Harvesting and storing. So typically, I'm going to pick these whole long racemes full of flowers, and I'm going to store them like that. If you want to just strip them off and put them in a grocery bag, that's okay, but it's, it can kind of damage them a little bit. They're kind of delicate, but I want the whole clusters. Now, I've seen some conflicting viewpoints. I just strip the flowers off just like that, but I have seen some people say that the green part attached to it, or the stem there that goes off of the raceme, I forget the name. Some people say you should pick the flowers off like that and not eat the small stem. I did not find that to be the case, and I ate over a pound this week. And when I'm looking for flowers, I'm going to look for some that are unopened on the top, because that's going to mean that the majority of the flowers are in great condition here. They can be kind of tempting, and they might look better or fresher than they are, and then you get home and they're like, oh, they're kind of crappy. So when we're storing flowers, a great excuse to talk about this here. If I'm in a restaurant scenario or just at home, I keep fish boxes or hard-sided plastic containers that are very wide and shallow for keeping small ingredients like this. I have some moist paper towels. I just put them in there, make sure that they're in a single layer, and then that is going to keep moisture in so they don't dry out. They will dry out in a paper bag. Okay, so general cooking and uses here. You can use them as a garnish for sweet or savory food. So there's with some polenta, green chickpeas, peas, mint, a little ham, a little radish. I tried to cook these like Sam Thayer's black locust salad. Unfortunately, look what happened. If you don't take those little stems off, they just look like a pile of hair. Hair pie. Okay, wisteria syrup is what I see most people making. It's probably the most common thing. And it's okay. It tastes like the flowers. It might make some cool lemonade. But honestly, I make so many syrups, and the syrups I make are generally a lot better. I don't know if I'll make it again. You put the flowers into a chilled syrup because you can't cook this stuff after you've infused it. That's one of the limitations here. And take that syrup, it'll wilt the flowers, put it into a jar. I did a extra strong batch. I'll show you after this. This is kind of a regular version. After a day, strain those flowers out, and then you'll just get some syrup. You pour that into a clean jar. And it tastes good. You get about 3 cups, or about 5 ounces of flowers to 4 cups of sugar, 2 cups of water. For an extra strong syrup, I doubled the proportion of flowers, and then they're just going to kind of wilt, and eventually they'll add liquid to it. This made a stronger infusion, but at the end of the day, both of them work, but you can see there's a lot more liquid, which means a thinner syrup in the one where I added a lot more flowers. Flour-infused cream. The aroma of flowers is really easy to transfer into stuff with lipids, fats, dairy, coconut milk. These are great mediums. I'm going to take a little heavy cream, a few ounces of flowers, a little buttermilk. I'll let this sit out overnight, and then I'll chill it down, kind of thicken up a little bit. You can make this into creme fraiche too. There's a recipe in my book. And then the next day, I'm just going to strain these out. And again, you can't cook with it, so you got to whip it or just use it straight up. All right, the sweet flower panade. If you're one of the people that asked for the recipe for my black locust crepes with white chocolate, and pistachios, and mint, oh, they're so sexy. I made this with wisteria as an excuse to make it again and give you guys the recipe. And the wisteria, I think, is better. So I take some hot coconut milk, or half and half, flowers, butter, bread, and a little sugar. And what happens here is that, and this is going to get chilled down quick. You don't want to really cook it. And if you can do it raw, if you have a Vitamix, do it raw because it'll keep the flavor even better. But you're going to puree that up, and you get this kind of attractive gray paste, but it tastes fantastic. It's so cool. Works with black locust flowers too. And if you want to tint the color so it's not gray, I add a little bit of aronia to mine, a little aronia juice reduction. There's just the basic paste. It's nice and thick. And here's the colored one that I'll show you after this. We're just going to fold the crepes up. This one's a little looser. You could just substitute it for part of the dairy in the beginning part of the recipe for making the panade, and it'll be thicker and spreadable. But I'm just going to take the crepes and warm them up in a little bit of coconut oil. I like coconut oil here, so make sure you serve them hot. There's with some mulberries and a little bit of the creme fraiche. You could whip it, or you could just have it like sour cream, some flowers on top. Boom, that's great. There is another version with pistachios and maple syrup. It's so good. Make sure you try that. There you go. Just a little quick breakdown of how I will use wisteria and a few things that you can do with it. All the recipes here are linked in my website. There's a link at the top of the video description for that. Thanks for watching.